Hi, today we're going to install Autopsy inside of a Windows 10 virtual machine running on Windows 7, which is actually a virtual machine running on Linux. If that's the kind of thing you're into, then let's get started. So here we are on our Windows 7 desktop that we're going to install VirtualBox so we can virtualize Windows 10 to install Autopsy. First thing we're going to do is go over and go to VirtualBox and download it. So go to virtualbox.org. Once you get there, there's a big download VirtualBox 6.1 button right in the middle of the screen. So if you click on this button, you'll download VirtualBox 6.1. Now we're using a Windows host, so you need to get the Windows host, and do not forget to get the extension pack. If you want to go ahead and get the extension pack right now, it's on the page with us. You can get it right now. We'll come back to it. So Windows hosts there, and we're going to say yes, save that file. It's going to save that file, and now over here for all supported platforms, this is the extension pack. Don't forget to get this, and we'll get this too. And we'll save that file. All right, now that we've done that, we can go ahead and click on our downloads and install VirtualBox. So over here, sure, always ask, go ahead. I'm going to choose Run. This is pretty much next, next, next. So we'll go through here. What do we install? Yes, that's great. Next. Do those things. Yeah. That sounds great. Next. And it says, warning, over there. It's going to reset network connectivity. Yeah, sure. Go with it. Install. So now as it goes through the install, it will actually have VirtualBox installed, and then we'll install the extensions. So remember, step 1 is download and install the VirtualBox and extensions. Step 2 is we're going to download the Windows 10 disk image from Microsoft. And when it comes up and it's like, yes, always trust software from Oracle Corporation, sure. You may get that screen a couple of times, and your screen may flicker during the installation. Okay, we've got the Start Oracle VM VirtualBox 618 after installations. We'll choose Finish, and we'll let that thing go ahead and start up. So there we go. Now we've got VirtualBox started up here. Let's go ahead and install our extensions. And I'm going to make one slight change to the configuration. You don't need to do this, but if you want to, I recommend it. So over here where we've got the VirtualBox VMs, I take out the VMs and just make that VirtualBox right there. And the reason for that is I don't want spaces. I'm a Linux guy, so as I go through and use Linux, having spaces there is just annoying when I'm doing most things from the terminal. So I'll set that up, and then we'll go down to extensions. And on extensions, we're going to go ahead and hit the plus here and add the extension from your downloads folder. Or you can click the extension inside of Firefox, and it will automatically install the extension. But I'm going to go ahead and hit plus here, choose the extension, open, install, and scroll down. I wish I'd learned to read. What is this? Government export miscellaneous. This is completely free, and they're going to give me money. Something like that. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Okay. We got that. Good. So now we've got VirtualBox set up and it is ready to go. So we can just kind of minimize that for right now. Now we need to download Windows 10. Now you might think, oh my goodness, we're going to download Windows 10. Isn't that illegal? No, we're actually going to get it from Microsoft. And Microsoft gives you Windows 10 for free as long as you don't want to go through and make any preference changes. So you can't change your desktop. You can't do a bunch of things like that. So you can't make it a really nice, fun experience. But it will be certainly functional for a lab environment. So over here, create Windows 10 installation media. No, don't want to do that. I want to actually download Windows 10. So I need to find a download for Windows 10. So on this page where we have the download the tool now, we have other download options, etc. As we go through this, we can try this, but this is not what we want. So we're going to cancel that and go back. This is we want to download the Windows 10 ISO. So let's make sure we get that done. So over here we got the Windows 10 disk image. Well, that looks pretty good. So let's click on this. Now with the disk image, over here we've got block the fingerprinter on this site, whatever. We've got a choice now. We can do more download options. We can look at this, volume services licenses, but we want to make this as straightforward as possible for everybody watching. And I'm going to put the link over in the description so you can get to the link much more easily than surfing through and clicking along with me. I'm showing you some of the problems that Microsoft puts up here and how it's really easy to get through these problems if you know where to go. So hopefully when you go to the Microsoft site, you're going to be seeing a link that looks sort of like this. Download Windows 10 disk image ISO file, and we can go through and select our edition, Windows 10, confirm. As it goes through, it says product language. I'm going to go ahead and choose English on this one and confirm. And once we choose that, it will actually give us a choice for 64-bit or 32-bit download. Now, if you don't have the virtualization settings in your BIOS set, then you'll need to get the 32-bit download. Also, if you're running a 32-bit operating system, you'll need to get the 32-bit download. And for this video, I'm actually going to go ahead and get the 32-bit download. When you click on the link, it's going to say, hey, save file. We're going to say yes. So we'll save the file. It'll take a few minutes to download. So once that's downloaded, we'll go ahead and get started again with, let me close this. We'll go ahead and get, no, don't exit, no. There. We'll go ahead and get started again with our VirtualBox installation of Windows 10. While we're waiting on Windows to download, some of you might like to know how to do a user agent switch. So if we go over and we want to switch our user agent inside of Firefox, so pretend that we're a Linux box or a Mac box, there are a couple add-ons that we can use for that. So we can go over and we can look at our user agent. Now, when we do a search for these kind of things, be careful what you're downloading and installing inside of Firefox. It gives access to your tabs and other features like that. Okay, there are a couple here on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one right here. When we choose this, I'll choose Add to Firefox. It says it'll be able to access my data, browse tabs, browser activity. I'm going to go ahead and add. So it's kind of like you're just choosing to install spyware right into your system. Allow this extension to run in private windows. Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, got it. So now that I've got that installed, which by the way, you are relinquishing your privacy by doing that. This switcher comes up. Now, once that switcher's there, we can go over and impersonate different machines. So we can say that we're actually Linux running Firefox 76 like that. Go back over to our download links for Microsoft. Say, yeah, I want to download that. And come over to the Microsoft link, pretending to be Linux running Firefox. And when you do that, you get all of the options here in selecting your edition, Windows 10, whatever you want, so you can download it. So having this little user agent switcher is an awesome technique for testing your websites for compatibility and also skipping some of the features that websites throw at you if you want to, let's say, download an image, or you want to go to a website and you don't want it to say, hey, you're running Windows. Well, you're actually trying to download something for Mac, so you can switch over to a Mac, and that way it says, oh, hey, you're a Mac. That kind of thing. So that's kind of a neat little bonus on this. Let's go on back to the downloads and see how they're coming along. All right, great. It says it's finished, 3.5 gigabytes. So we can go ahead and close out Firefox now. Let's see, don't warn me. Close tabs. There. All right, so now we've got this done. Let's pop back into Firefox here. I'm sorry, Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. And inside of this, we're going to choose to add a new machine. So we're not adding a machine, but we're creating a new machine. So choose New. Over here, I'm just going to call it Win 10. So it comes up with Microsoft Windows 10 32-bit. Next, the RAM I'm going to put in there. However much you want to put. I'm going to put 2048, just 2 gig. Next, it says create a virtual hard disk. Yeah, I'm going to create one. A VDI, absolutely. Dynamically allocated. Dynamically allocated means it's only going to use the space that's required. Go up here, 50 gig. I don't know, I'm making 128 gig. So we'll choose that. And I'll choose create. All right. Now we've got that machine created. Now this is just kind of the framework. It's kind of the hardware for what we're doing. Let's go to settings. Inside of settings, there's some settings that I change right off the bat. And let's walk into advanced here. Choose bidirectional for your shared clipboard and drag and drop. If you're going to put a username and password in there and you're going to share this machine, then go ahead and put that in your description. Over in the system, we got the 2 gig of RAM. I don't need a floppy drive. And increasing to a couple of processors might be a good idea. Display, over here, whatever you can pull out of this, great, go for it. Storage, this is where we're going to choose our disk. So we're going to choose a disk file. Click. And right over that disk file, we're going to go over to our downloads folder. So in our downloads, right there, the Windows 10. Open. So now we got that. You can leave your audio on if you want to. Network NAT, sure, that's fine. And the rest of the settings, you can choose USB 3.0 if it's not already selected. And then shared folders. If you want to share a folder so that you can get access on the local machine without drag and drop, then you can go through and share your folders and however they want to do that. Now, folder path, I'm just going to do C:/ on that right there. The folder name, C drive, sure. And I'm going to make that auto-mounted, and I'm going to make that a drive S inside of our machine. So that's going to go out as drive S. I'm going to choose OK. Now, it's saying some invalid settings are detected in here, and that's because of the setting that I've got inside of my virtual machine. So over there, as far as the invalid settings are going to be problematic inside of this system right here. So when it says this is a problem, it is actually talking about my installing this inside of a virtual machine. And that's because I am using a Windows 7 virtual machine on top of a Linux host to install a Windows 10 virtual machine. So you should not receive this right there. So those little options there, the acceleration issue, you should not get that, whatever it might be. So to recap here, we've got the general settings, which are the bidirectional clipboard and drag and drop under advanced. The system itself, we're unchecking floppy because we don't need it. The processor, as many processors as you can afford, go ahead. One CPU is fine for now. And display, as much display as you can give it. Now over here, you can play with these settings. You can also enable 3D acceleration. Play with that later. On the storage, of course, we're choosing the Win 10 ISO that we downloaded, and we'll be using that for the installation. The network NAT is fine, and USB, we've got the USB 3.0, and we have a shared folder for drive C. So let's go ahead and boot the machine with that ISO selected. Now again, we are using the Win 10 1909 English 32-bit version, actually, is what we're looking for there. That says 64, so let me go select the other image. There you go, the Windows 10 1909 English version, 32-bit version. So let's go ahead and choose OK on that. And I'm going to start that machine up. So we're going to choose Start. And this should start our Oracle VM VirtualBox machine. So we're starting Windows 10 now. We're going to walk through the installation of Windows 10. It's going to be very straightforward. So yes, English. We're going to choose Install. It will automatically find the hard drive and say, do you want to install it here? Yes, we do. And we're going to let this thing run. Now, installation can take anywhere from a couple of minutes to about 30 minutes. We're not going to make you sit through the video that long. Over here where it says, hey, do you need a key? If you have a key and you want to use it, go for it. Or you can choose you do not have a product key. Now, if you choose I do not have a product key, then it will not allow you to set your desktop or other settings like that. So you are losing your little features and the things that make Windows your own. But it still works great for a lab environment. So Windows 10 Pro is what I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose Next. Over here, accept the license terms. Next, and over here, this upgrade or custom, we're going to choose custom, and that's the hard drive. It says, hey, do you want to do that? We're going to say yes. Next. So it's going to go through and now copy the files over and get our machine ready to run. So while it's copying files over, you may want to get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Okay, almost there. As soon as it's done, we'll get started with our first Windows boot. Okay, we just started our automatic reboot. It's asking if we want to boot from a CD-ROM. Of course, we don't this time because this is our first boot into our newly installed Windows machine. There's still some configuration options and a couple installation things that Windows needs to do, so we'll kind of let that go on. Okay, Windows 10 is continuing to start its services, make the little configuration options it needs to make for our first boot. As soon as this is done, it's going to ask us a few questions. Okay, we got a black screen. Looks like it's making progress. Now it's gone ahead and rebooted. So after this reboot, it should be asking us a few questions. Again, it's asking if we want to boot from the CD-ROM. Don't worry, we're going to fix that in a second. So after it gets started, then we will go ahead and answer the couple of user account questions for Windows, our data privacy and sharing questions, and install Autopsy. Okay, these are the generic questions that Microsoft's going to ask you right off the bat. What is your region? It's going to ask you, of course, the regular questions about a user account. Now, we're not going to choose an online user account. We're going to choose a local user account. So we got our keyboard layout here, which does limit some of the features. But once again, we're installing this Windows 10 to allow for, skip that, to allow for a lab environment, not a fully registered, which you can, a fully registered desktop experience. Now you can use this with Linux too. So you can install Linux and, well, Mac OS, Android OSs, or a number of other operating systems inside of VirtualBox. So installing Windows is just one option of many. Okay, so how would you like to set up Windows? In this case, we're going to set it up for personal use. Now, for those of you who are experienced with installing Windows inside of virtual machines or installing Windows in general, go ahead and skip to the Autopsy portion. Autopsy is very straightforward, and if you are experienced, just go download Autopsy and install it and try it out. So this is sign in with Microsoft. We're going to choose an offline account. Now the offline account does limit some of our features, but we are using a feature-less version of Windows here. So we're going to choose the limited experience. We're also going to disable a lot of the features as far as our content tracking and other privacy features there. So on this, who's going to be using it? I'm going to just try user, and we're going to see if this works. And a super memorable password, and password, and we'll try to make that match. There we go. And we got a couple of questions here, so for question one, we'll say question one, and then let's see. Actually, I just say question 1, 2, 3, 4. See if it lets me do that. Question 2. Question 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. And question 3. Question 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. Now, as far as security goes, I encourage you to never answer the questions with actual information. Take points from the question and then replicate that and add a password to it. So those questions are far too identifiable. Don't use those questions. Add things to the question. So it asks you where you're born. You may want to give it where you're born. I recommend against it. Activate activity history. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. Digital assistant. No. So when you're typing your password there and it asks where you're born, then have something made up and then have a code that goes before or after that or inside of it. That way, no one has the ability to go back and recreate your security questions. So all of these things, I'm going to go ahead and say no to all of these. Just turn all this off. Okay, almost there. Okay, so Windows is starting up now. It says, do you want to allow your PC to be discoverable? I'm going to say yes. And that, once again, is we're setting up a lab environment, and I want to make maximum connectivity to this box right here. So now, you may notice that the machine is not fitting in my entire window. So I've got a larger gray window around this. Let's fix that now. So we go Devices, where it was constantly telling us, hey, you got a DVD in the drive. We're going to go choose Optical Drives. And, well, actually, we can disconnect it there, or you just go choose Insert Guest Edition CD Image, and it will automatically remove it. So once you choose that, it will add the disk image. You can go check it by Devices, Optical, and it should show, which I don't see that in there, but Devices, Insert, just make sure I clicked Insert. Then we'll go over here to the File Manager. In File Manager, we will open up that image. So over here in CD drive D, we've got an auto run. We'll go ahead and double click that. Yeah, and the auto run's like, nah, I don't recognize that in Windows. So we'll go ahead and do the x86 Windows editions. So, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes, we do. We'll need to walk through these. Your screen may flicker during the installation. And it's going to ask you a couple of times, hey, do you trust this, etc. So always trust? Absolutely. And no, Oracle is not sponsoring this video. So there we go. Okay, reboot now. Yes, let's go ahead and do that. So finish. Now, when it reboots this time, it will not prompt us to boot from the DVD because the Windows DVD is no longer inserted in the drive. And I've heard rumors that sometimes you have to press Enter or Spacebar when the virtual machine starts. If it just gives you a black screen, press Spacebar, press Enter, whatever. I'm not sure why that would occur. Okay, here we go. Now it's come up with our username and password, so we're going to go ahead and enter our password. Now I am using a password of password here. So the user is user and the password is password. And the reason for that is appropriate levels of security for the devices that you're installing. In this case, I'm creating a lab environment so that I can test a machine. I won't be surfing the net on this or going out and using this for any type of banking, etc. This is just a lab machine where I'm going to install software, test it, and then probably delete it. So having cybersecurity appropriately aligned with what you're trying to accomplish is a huge factor in performance. Okay, so there we go. We've got our machine up now, and it's got a few more things it's going to be doing in the background while we're running. I'm going to walk you through two changes that I would make to get started. And the first change is going to be for the, there we go, netplwiz. See if I can get that to come up. Okay, there we go. I'm going to see if that will start. Don't really want to search for that in the web. Windows is funny. It's a little slow. It's a little sluggish in this machine. Okay, it is taking a little longer to get everything installed than I expected, But I'm going to go ahead and do a command CMD, and I'm going to see if that comes up. Now calculator. Come on, Windows. cmd.exe. Command prompt. Try it again. There we go. And I'm going to see if this comes up there. It may not. We'll see. Okay, it does. So the command I'm typing there is netplwiz. If you want to do the Windows R key and run this, that'd be fine. But that's users must enter a password. No, I'm not going to have users enter a password. And right there, when I choose OK, it's going to say enter your password, which again, the password on this machine is password. Okay. Now when I reboot my box, it won't prompt me for a username and password. It'll just log straight in. And that's what I really want from a lab computer, so I can pop in and try things out. So now I've got this command prompt open. Yeah, I'll just close that. And the next option is you can kind of gear this machine towards performance instead of visual features. I'm going to skip that for now, and we're going to go ahead and download Autopsy. So I'm going to start the Microsoft Internet Explorer, which they call Microsoft Edge. And we're going to go to www.autopsy.com/download. And these links are available in the description. Now, of course, you want to download the version of Autopsy that matches the architecture of your virtual machine and your CPU. In this case, we're doing everything 32-bit. So I'm going to go ahead and download the 32-bit version. I encourage you to use all 64-bit or greater systems. 64-bit's all available right now. Let's say, it says, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to run it, save it, cancel? I'm going to choose save. Now it's going to download Autopsy, and then I'm going to run it after it's downloaded. Okay, it's running a security scan on Autopsy. You'll probably want to disable that in the future, but hey, it's up to you. It's your lab machine. So let's go ahead and try to run this. It's finished downloading. Oh my goodness. Just with 2 gig of RAM and I think a single CPU, this machine is dragging a lot. So we're gonna go with it. I said run Autopsy. It hopefully is starting now. Can't close some windows right now. It's busy. Okay, the first feature that Windows 10 has offered me is saying that Windows protected my PC from the application I was trying to install. So it's actually protecting me from efficiency and effectiveness. So over there, I can go through more info, and it's like, hey, run anyway, yes. So it's protecting me from things I want to do, which seems like that would affect performance in certain negative ways. Let's see if I get that negative. All right, so let me get these down. It's like, welcome to the Autopsy Setup Wizard. We're going to choose next. Program files, next, and ready to install. We're going to choose install. Okay, in this case, once again, it's prompting me to allow the application to make changes to my PC. Now, Windows does come with a bit of bloatware, so you will have to wait for that to install in the background before you're really able to progress forward. So just be aware of that there will be delays. Now, the installation, this entire process can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours. Depends on your system specifications and what you're trying to accomplish. This installation should take less than 5 minutes. If it takes more, well, Autopsy may not be the most usable option on that PC or that virtual machine, but that's okay. You can still use it to kind of become familiar with the tool itself. Okay, we're making progress. So here it's completing the Autopsy Setup Wizard. We're going to choose Finish. And now we have the Autopsy icon on our desktop. So we can go ahead and double click that, start this up. It's probably a good idea to reboot your computer occasionally to make sure that all the registry entries and everything is right. But I'm going to go ahead and double click it and see how far we get. Okay, enable central repository. It says it's not enabled. Would you like to enable it? This is, we're going to choose yes at this point, but we are not going to go through the Autopsy configuration and setup. That's something that you should do with the free Autopsy training that was mentioned by Jeremy Martin. So if you'll go over to the free Autopsy training and go ahead and register for that, they're going to walk you through the configuration of Autopsy. Okay, Autopsy has almost started. It's coming up on our screen. And here you go. Now we're up and running with Autopsy. This is the latest version as of today. Today's May 21st, 2020. We're running the latest version of Windows 10, which at this recording was 1909. It is the 32-bit version, and we're using the latest version of VirtualBox. I hope that this has been helpful. So a quick summary of what we've accomplished today. Let's pop over here. That's going to be right there, actually. So we've got our quick summary. We downloaded and installed VirtualBox and its extensions. Don't forget to get the extensions with that too. We downloaded a Windows 10 disk image. Now we do have a link over in the description that will allow you to download that image for probably 5 days or so. So I don't know, 72 hours. When you go to that link and it doesn't work, then Microsoft will prompt you to download it again. No biggie. And we installed Windows 10 inside of a VirtualBox virtual machine, and we installed the guest extensions on top of that. You need the guest extensions because that's what lets your window expand out to take up the entire frame of the virtual machine. It also enables features like drag and drop and other things like that. And lastly, we downloaded and installed Autopsy, the latest version as of today. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. It's one of the longest videos I've ever made, but this is step by step going from nothing to an installation of Autopsy. If you liked it, fantastic. Hopefully, I'll get to talk to you again in the future.